Hey P3, it's me, Miss Jones. I am back to explain lesson 2. Remember, lesson 2, these activities that you see here, these are intended to be completed on Friday. The first thing you have is a bell ringer on roots and affixes list number 1, which we talked about yesterday, Thursday. One thing to note, it says quiz. Canvas is calling this a quiz. This is not a quiz. This is a bell ringer. These are ungraded practice activities. I can't change the fact that Canvas wants to call this a quiz. So go ahead and click on start quiz or resume quiz, and then you'll see here you've got some definitions. And when you click on the drop down, you have a list of words. So your directions are to use your knowledge of the root words and affixes from list number 1 to match the appropriate word to each sentence definition. For example, having an obligation to do something, that is being responsible. When you're done, you're going to click submit. You will immediately be able to see which ones you got right or wrong. Again, these are ungraded. These are not for a grade. This is just meant as practice for roots and affixes list number 1. Next up in our module for lesson 2 is notes on plot. This is just a really quick review. Plot is the series of events that occur throughout a narrative, and we can divide those into 5 plot parts. This is review. So you have your exposition, which this is all explained in the bottom half of the notes, but I'm just going to explain it from my brain. The exposition is the beginning of your story. That's where you're introduced to your characters, your setting. You're given the initial setup of the plot. What is going on here? What's the context of this story? Next, you have your rising action. This is when the events are really building up and things are happening and different characters are doing different things, and you're leading all the way up towards your climax, which is the turning point of your story. That is the height of the action. That is the main point that the story wants to get to. That is where all of the big and interesting things go on, is right there in the climax. After the climax, you have your falling action. This is where things are starting to wind down. All those plot threads are starting to get tied up. And finally, we're left with our resolution. And this is where the either all of those plot threads are tied up nicely in a nice little bow for us, or we're left with a cliffhanger or a plot twist ending that can happen as well in the resolution. That's just a quick overview of plot. Let's come back into our module. And if I just click next, what we have here is a Pixar short, Partly Cloudy. What I'd like you to do is to watch it once and just enjoy it. Especially if you've never seen this before, watch it one time, just enjoy it. It's really, really funny. Now, I'm going to pick up the directions right here. So after you've watched it one time, it says, now, watch Partly Cloudy a second time. You read that right. Only this time you read, or that should say this time you watch, I want you to focus on the plot structure. How did the writers use plot structure to take you, the reader, on an emotional journey? What information did they reveal in the exposition? Where was the turning point of the story or the climax? How did the writers wrap it all up in the resolution? After you've watched this video a second time and you've paid really close attention to the plot structure, I want you to, like it says here, open a text box by clicking on the blue Submit Assignment button and write your response below. Your response should be 3 to 5 sentences minimum and should refer to specific scenes from the short film for textual evidence. So what I want to know is, what did these Pixar Studios authors do to take you on an emotional journey? What plot elements did they include that helped you as the viewer of this film to understand what was going on and to understand where that exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution, where those scenes were located?